The Canadian truckers' protests will most likely fail. Why? Because protests don't do anything. Protests, they might get a little bit of attention on things, they might get some people riled up, but in this modern day and age, protests only really accomplish one or two things. The main thing is they get the people of the countries that they're doing these protests in, to be more upset with one another. They don't really get a lot of leverage against the government. We've seen tons of protests in the United States, and really next to no legislation has come about because of it. Because the government really doesn't care about what you want, especially now. We've done this to ourselves, so you can't look at the government and say, oh, they are doing this stuff. We did it to ourselves by giving away our power to the government. We got rid of the checks and balances that you'd need to keep people accountable, keep the government accountable. And you're not just seeing this in government, you're seeing this everywhere. You're seeing this in schools. I just saw some, school board thing where they're like, your job is to do this. It's like, yeah, well, where have you been? They haven't been doing their job for 50 years, okay? Same thing with the healthcare industry. Same thing with pharmaceutical industry. Same thing with the food industry. We've let corruption run rampant, so you can't blame these corporations or the government or Trudeau or Biden. You can't blame these people who happen to sit in power at the time. They just had the power now. We're the ones who said, it's okay, I like to be fat and happy. So give me my iPhone, give me my streaming service, give me my Doritos, and I'll be fine. We've settled. So when you know that, and how do I know that Trudeau knows this about Canada? Is because we give our thoughts away. We give them everything they need. They're so, why do you think government officials are so confident in this day and age? It's because they have all the information. They don't need to steal anything, although they do steal everything, because at least in the United States, we gave away that freedom in 2001, right after 9/11. So maybe not 2001, but 2002, 2003, when the Patriot Act got signed. All of their information is looked up. NSA, CIA. They can do whatever they want with our information. But even if they didn't have access, even if we didn't give them access, we constantly tell people what's on our mind. What is Twitter? What is Facebook? What is Instagram? These are all telling people, who are you? Who are you as a person? If I know who you are, I know how you vote. If I know who you are, I know what you're going to choose in a debate, what side you're going to choose. If I know your thoughts, I know everything about you. They know what we're thinking. So they're confident. They're extra confident. They know that they have the massive majority of people on their side. Yes, they might have a big amount of truckers. They could have all the truckers. In my mind, they could have all the truckers protesting. And Trudeau could just, again, use his knowledge of understanding people and playing and pitting the people against each other to go, these are bad people. He's already actually come out and said that, called them like misogynists and racists and all this other weird stuff, which is kind of like very presumptuous. But you say these people are bad people. You don't have to have any rationale, but you can then say, which is true, they're not doing their job. They're not getting food to you and your family. They're endangering Canadian citizens' lives. And if you don't understand anything about the movement or what they're trying to do in the protests, if you just think, give me my streaming service, give me my phone, I want to be fat and happy, like most of us are, all right? Myself included. We don't care. We say we care, but your actions do something different. So when we understand that, when you know that you have this leverage, you can then say, hey, we're going to get these people out of here. We're going to remove the protesters because they're bad people, or they're this. You're not going to have a bunch of people coming out and then someone going, no, we support the truckers. They're going to be like, I don't want to be a part of this fight. Just keep me fat and happy. So when you understand that the power of the government is more than it's ever been, if you've been around here for the past 2 years, you'll understand how powerful your government is. They can basically tell you to do whatever they want. They can tell everyone to do that. Um, they don't need to really do much other than sit back and kind of wait for things to peter out. So that's why I feel like, the momentum and the enthusiasm of something like this trucker convoy is great at the beginning, but it's going to start fading. And once it fades, that's when Trudeau can go, oh, thank God I don't have to do that anymore. All right, we can just go back to doing whatever we're doing. But it shouldn't surprise you that governments are ignoring these protests or saying that they're bad people, because they don't care. They haven't cared for decades. They care even less today than they've ever cared because of how much power they have. And someone like Trudeau, it shouldn't be a surprise, because who's Trudeau's dad? Fidel Castro. You might laugh at that, and I laugh at that because it's funny, but it's true. If you look at a picture of Trudeau and you look at a picture of Castro, they're the same face. It's very hard to get the same face on two people that aren't related. It would be the biggest coincidence ever, especially if Trudeau's dad was friends with Castro. So that means his mom, was around Castro before Castro was alive, or before Trudeau was alive. So it might say conspiracy theory, but I just have a brain, I have eyeballs. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't mean anything, but it's just funny to see someone doing authoritative things and have that as their legacy. It's kind of interesting, but it would happen to anyone who's in a position of power. And again, if you don't have leverage against you, if you're looking around and you're going, what are they really gonna do if push comes to shove? There's really nothing that they can do, because they have all the power. They have the legislatures. The only way that things can change is if the majority in the government switches, which is so hard to do. So hard to get a consensus in the government. And who's really the tiebreaker in the government? It's whoever is in power, that president. They have all of the people that they've put into place around them, and they have their side of the government. So if it's like a Democrat who's in power, they have the Democrat group who's on their side. So unless those people switch and go to the other side against Trudeau, which it doesn't seem like it is happening. Again, I don't really know much about Canadian politics, but that would be the only way. And maybe the trucking protest gets the government to get over the line, but I just think that too many people are satisfied with where they're at. Like I said, I'm fat and happy. Let me be. Just tell me what to do. We'll do it. We'll get it done, and we'll move on with our lives. We'll get back to normal. Well, we know that normal is long gone, and things have changed forever, and people are okay with the new normal. They're okay with it. Let's just continue along with what we're doing. All right? Don't stop so much change. People hate change. People hate conflict. People hate this stuff. So if people were going to actually say, hey, I support this, or hey, I don't, most people would want to stay the F away from it. And Trudeau understands that. He knows that about people. He knows, because we give them the information. So that's why protests really don't have any of the juice that they used to have, because we've given away our power. They understand our real motives and our real thoughts and our real way of thinking. And when you understand that, you basically know everything there is to know about people, and you can just easily manipulate them and sway them one way or another. And politicians are masters at this. This is why they've been able to rise up the ranks and be in the positions that they're at, is because they're masters at. They might even just be natural. They're not even studying it. They're not even trying to manipulate people. They just have an idea. They want to get that idea across, and their idea gets across. Somehow, some way, people go, yes, and they follow through. Those are powerful people that are in government, whether it's natural or whether it's learned, whether they're malicious or not. It doesn't matter. This is the way things are today. He's in power. He wants things a certain way. It's what's going to happen. Look at the rest of the world, right? If you look at the rest of the, he might even say that at some point. He might even say, look at the rest of the world. They're all following along with what their government's doing. Why are you guys so special? Again, what's your leverage against me that's going to get me to change? There isn't anything. So unless if they have some other form of leverage that I'm not privy to, again, I'm not really following it closely. I just understand protests. I understand that they don't really work. I just don't see it working out for them. Wish them the best. I want the people to have a voice, but I realize that that has been gone for decades. I mean, my entire life, there's been no voice. That's why I don't vote. People get mad at me all the time. Why don't you vote? Because it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter until I myself get myself a political campaign and I'm in there making decisions next to people. It doesn't matter. Your vote is useless because once that vote gets that person elected, that person has the power. And you think, oh, well, we elected that person, they're going to do what they want, what we want. It doesn't work like that anymore because there's no checks and balance. There's no checks and balance. Right? People can get away with whatever they want to get away with now. And until it gets that bad, and again, this is my whole kind of rationale behind why I think protests, aren't going to be successful in this day and age, is because there's just not enough energy behind things. People aren't that upset. If people get more upset, there's something really egregious going on, which I believe is going on. But again, you look around and people aren't upset. So when you see that, you go, well, how are you going to get the majority of people on your side when people just don't care? It's just not going to happen. So when you see that and you look at the power of the government, you just go, it's only a matter of time before this stuff fades away, or they just make something up. I mean, how easy would it be for them to accuse one of these people of doing something in their garage and setting something up? It's like, hey, they're going to overthrow the government. Yeah, we have all these documents that this person's been writing about. It's like, how easy is it to fake that and shut the whole thing down, right? Because then you'd have the rest of the people going, oh, that's dangerous. You don't want that. You don't want someone trying to overthrow the government, all right, with really not that much, there's not really that much that Trudeau's done wrong, although you could argue that all of our governments have done crazy amounts of wrong, which I think is true. But again, we don't care. So we're okay with it. That's why a protest is, it looks interesting, it gets some eyeballs on things, but in the end, it doesn't really do anything. You really got to go and you really got to get the legislation changed at the level of the law. And that is so increasingly hard to do because the government doesn't give a shit about you and what you think. They know what you think, they know that you don't care, and they take advantage of that. So best of luck to the truckers, and the Canadian people. I hope, you are able to get your point across and you are heard. But again, I just feel like it's going to fall on deaf ears, and it's unfortunate. But again, this is just a situation that we're living in. So best of luck. Those are my thoughts. Thanks.